You.
Yeah.
Okay, to begin with, I should warn you that you should not have very high expectation from mathematicians to be very communicative. Can you hear me?
Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Okay, all right.
Shouting time.
I'll just begin. Actually, I was about to speak for 5 minutes, but Kamal tricked me into speaking for half an hour. So please bear with me. So the topic is impact of hard mathematics on World Wide Web. But you can have other topics for this. How to use Markov chains to become a billionaire. That is also one of the possible topics for this. Or you can have how the work of Andrei Markov 100 years ago made Gary Page and Sergey Brin super rich. That's a super secret of Google, which I'm going to reveal to you. And Mr. Colin is here? Okay, he's outside, so I can go ahead. All right. When I was making this presentation, the major problem I faced was that I do not know background of many of you guys. So I was thinking that if I speak very highbrow stuff, then the things will go very boring. But if I speak in a very simple term, that many of you might take it as an insult to your intelligence. So that was a big dilemma for me. So I just decided to be just interesting.
Okay, that's a good idea. Always works.
Okay. Before we begin, we need to build a common ground from a platform from where we can see things in a common perspective. So to begin with, I'll talk about, okay, this is also one of the topics, alternate topics. Who the hell are mathematicians? Being counters? So what is mathematics? When we talk about mathematics, the first image which comes to our mind is counting. It's true that one of the functions of mathematics is to count, but in its very essential, mathematics is a tool for thinking, a tool to transcend our intuition. What do I mean by transcend our intuition? I'll just give you a very small example. Most of the marketing guys will recognize this very well. That most of the products, they have this label called, say, 80% fat-free. You must have seen this kind of label in many food products. Now you must note that they never write 20% fat. They never write that, even though both are equivalent. Both are equivalent mathematically. But people are not hardwired to internalize probability. People are hardwired to understand certainty, not probabilities. So this is a very small example where our intuitions fail if we don't think even for one level of abstraction. So, but there are more complex cases in which mathematics says one thing and our intuition says another thing. So mathematics is a tool to transcend our intuition. Mathematics is a tool for us how to think. So with that background, I will begin this presentation. When Einstein propounded his theory of relativity, the results came out to be totally counterintuitive. That the speed of light is constant, that light bends in high gravity, that time slows down at the speed of light. These are totally counterintuitive things. And Einstein came about these conclusions purely mathematically. He did not do a single experiment. He just deduced it mathematically and then interpreted the physical interpretation of that particular equation, which came out to be these results. And later, when these results were experimented on, they were amazingly found to be true. So mathematics is a tool to see reality beyond which our intuition cannot see. So this is the basic background of mathematics. Okay. Since we are talking about mathematics vis-a-vis World Wide Web, we need to ask the question: what is one of the biggest problem of internet? The biggest problem of internet is too much information. We have too much information, not less information. And to be precise, too much noise and little information. Most of it is noise and very little information. That's the basic problem of the World Wide Web. Now, how to get some order out of this chaos? Intuitively, you cannot pick and choose, and even intuitively doing stuff is not scalable. So here is where mathematics comes into picture. And I will give you one small example of that. In fact, I'll begin with work which people are already doing, and then I will progress to what future work can be done. So one of the very common workarounds is mashups. You mash up data, and the data which comes out with that mashup is something meaningful to us. And in fact, at the first Ruby meeting I attended, I remember some of you guys were doing some mashup stuff. So this is one of the tools to make meaning out of the chaos. Another method is data mining. Data mining does not mean data analysis. Data mining means finding relationship between objects which we do not know. And that relationship is found purely by machines, purely by algorithms. There is no human intervention. Human intuition could not even say whether there is whether there is a relationship between the object. But mathematics gives you, data mining gives you that relationship. So that's one way to escape the chaos of overload of information. Another is business intelligence. Business intelligence is also very much dependent on data mining, like interrelationship between different strategies. And in fact, recently, I think SAP acquired a business object, which is a business intelligence company. And Oracle also acquired Hyperion, which is also a business intelligence company. So you can see that the importance of business intelligence is manifesting itself to all the big players, and they're desperate to get into the game. Because if they don't get into the game, then somebody else will and sweep their market. Okay, there is one more company called Efficient Frontier, which does strategic bidding on Google AdSense. If you know something about Google AdSense, where you bid on certain keywords to get your ad promoted on Google search results, how to optimally bid so that you get maximum output of your investment, Efficient Frontier does that for you algorithmically. Okay. Now I'll go into the area which is like transition area, which lies between the present and the future. I'll just talk about support vector machine in 2 minutes after having a glass of water. All right. So we'll talk about support vector machine. I don't know whether I should talk about it or not, but nevertheless I will carry on. Okay. One of the common recurring problem when there is a lot of data is classification. You want to classify data. And support vector machine, theoretically, is the most powerful hard classifier. And okay, even before I tell about support vector machine, let me tell you why I'm telling you about this. It's not because I want to show my exclusive knowledge, and it's not because of that, but I just want to give you an idea how this mathematics works. Let us take a very let us take a very simple example. This is a plane, and there are dots and triangles. Dots and triangles. And our problem is to classify this data by one single line. Obviously, that line is this.
Obviously.
Very obvious. We don't need any hard mathematics for this.
Yeah, I knew that.
Okay. If we have a two-dimensional plane now, and we have data scattered like this, like this, like this, like this, like this, and now we want to, in a three-dimensional plane, we want to classify this data by one single plane. We want to cut it by a single plane and classify it. So, for this would be the plane, I guess, which will classify the data one above, one below. Okay, that's also easy. That's also no big deal. Now we come to a third kind of problem, in which the data is distributed in a very crazy fashion. Let's say this. Now there is no way you can classify the data by a straight line. You see, whatever straight line you put, you won't be able to classify it. So support vector machine has a very clever trick called kernel trick. What it does is, it's just two dimensions. It projects the image in three dimensions. So the image might look like something like this in three dimensions. Like this, but the triangles are above here. So you can cut the plane like this. So by increasing the dimension, we are actually solving the problem. You have to note that people think that by curtailing information, by simplifying things, we can solve things. But that is not necessarily the case. Here, we have to go from 2 dimensions to 3 dimensions to actually solve the case. And nobody came up with this kind of thing. It just happened automatically, mathematically. Once the mathematical equations were solved of support vector machine, people found out, oh, this is what is happening. That the system is actually projecting a 2 dimension into 3 dimensions. So it just happened mathematically. So this is basically the definition of support vector machine. I could not find a simpler definition. This is what it is. Performs classification by constructing n-dimensional hyperplane that optimally separates the data into 2 categories. So this is the definition.
So what is it used for?
It is useful.
What is it useful for?
Who's using it?
Who is using it?
Yeah.
I don't know anybody who is using it. But it can be used for classification. So that classification is the main thing. A clean, clear-cut classification.
Are we using it in Windows?
I won't tell that.
Sorry.
Okay. Now we come back to Andrei, that mysterious character called Andrei Markov, and some general idea of social rank algorithm. In fact, you can go to any web page in Google and Google page rank algorithm. So, I'm talking about social rank, not page rank. Okay. Okay. I'll talk about social rank first. I'll give you a simple. Oh, first of all, you don't even know what is social rank. All right. Social rank is socialrank.com. Rank.com is a product of Mind Valley, where I'm working as a chief mathematician, and it is an algorithm to rank blocks and classify them. So I'll just give you a simple idea how it is done. I won't give you the secret sauce, but I'll give you a very simple idea. As you know, in PageRank algorithm, they consider backlinks. And when they consider backlinks, they make a model with the who links to whom. That's a graph. You get a graph. From that graph, they make a model called called hidden Markov model. Markov model. This hidden Markov model is a probabilistic model. Basically, PageRank is a representation of the probability of you reaching that page from any other page. You take any arbitrary rate and start clicking on its links. What is the probability that after a long time you will reach that page? That is PageRank. And to model that, they use hidden Markov model. In fact, if you Google PageRank, they'll give you a very simple definition of how it is done. But that's a very simplistic explanation. What is happening, what they're doing is modeling it into hidden Markov model. And social rank also does that, but it does on a higher dimension. Google just take backlinks. We take backlinks in one dimension, page views in another dimension. It's two dimension already. Then click-through rates in the third dimension, and comments in the fourth dimension. Fourth dimension we cannot visualize, just three dimensions. But we take several other parameters, and we get an n-dimensional hyperplane. And that's Einstein's theory. He considered time as the fourth dimension, but it need not necessarily be the fourth dimension. So we get an n-dimensional hyperplane, and then we use hidden Markov models and some natural language processing for classification. Okay, I'll tell you briefly what is natural language processing. Natural language processing is a process by which machine learns what a text means. You see? You can talk about the same idea in 10 different ways, but a machine has to know that those 10 different ways are the same. They're talking about the same thing. That is natural language processing. So we also use some natural language processing and some secret sauce. That's very important. So to see how these things work, you can go to www.socialrank.com and see it's working, and test and try to reverse engineer. Okay. Actually, PowerSet is also a natural language processing search engine. Has anyone heard about PowerSet? Yes, PowerSet. So it also bases its search on natural language processing, and I'm highly unimpressed by that. Yes, I don't know. Maybe it's just a testing phase. Get better. And Intel, in the design of its chips, it uses evolutionary algorithms. If you see an Intel chip, there is no human being who has designed that chip. There are competing algorithms who just fight among themselves, and there is a survival of the fittest, and there is an emergent design which comes up, and they copy that design. So when you say the Intel chip, there is no human being who has designed that chip. It is algorithm which has designed it. So that is one use, very big use of higher mathematics. And Merrill Lynch, it uses algorithmic trading. Means it uses a combination of human beings and algorithm for trading. Sometimes it's just the algorithm which is trading. Human beings are sleeping like that. And some mathematician makes an algorithm and that's it. It's working on autopilot. Okay, so these are the areas where higher mathematics is heavily used. And another area is game development. I would say that if you want to apply all kind of mathematics, go for game development. But nowadays there are many game engines which already incorporate all the algorithms within themselves. So its abstraction layer is already deep down. You don't go into it. But if you're making a game engine, then you need to know a lot of mathematics to make it. And nowadays I see a big opportunity for indie gamers, because even many big game companies are concentrating on easy small games, because these days people don't have time to like complete 100 levels or just immerse their life in games. So they're making very small games with very tight artificial intelligence and quick finishing time. And by a survey, incidentally, I'm just telling incidentally, by a survey it was found that it is basically the women who play those kind of small games. So they're targeting the women like doll making or I don't know, pink. So
I'm offended.
you don't like pink? Actually, I went to Kinokuniya and I was surprised to see a whole rack full of game development books. So that's another indication that game development is catching on. For example, Magesco is also a game company which was running in loss, and now it has started designing a small game for me.
Sorry, why is it big opportunity for indie gamers? What is the big opportunity?
Big opportunity for indie gamers is to make indie games. I mean,
Best of it.
I get
Algorithm just beyond me.
Yeah, I get what you said.
That's the equation.
Okay, I'll tell you. So the thing is that if you look at any algorithms, even if you look at Google PageRank algorithm when it was first made, it was just this small. That's it. That's the algorithm. So to make AI games, even AI games, you don't need big engines or big database. If you have very smart algorithms, you can make it in a very small budget. So mathematics is giving you a leverage in the game industry because of that. So that's a big opportunity for indie gamers, as I see it. In fact, these days I'm in my free time I'm doing some gaming in Pi games. So just experimenting with some of the algorithms. So that was the mathematics applied to games, and I was going to tell something more. like in gaming industry, you see all sort of artificial intelligence and the mathematics of physics. For example, if you play games these days, the effect is very realistic. It's not because the gamers have pre-designed the behavior of every particle. It's just that they have applied the mathematics of physical laws. And what comes out looks very natural, because that's how the real world behaves. It behaves by the rules of mathematics. And in fact, if you look into the animation these days, for example, if you see if you see a school of fish swimming around, the movement looks very natural because they don't micro-control each fish. They just give a mathematical equation of their motion in relation to other fishes, as it really happens in the school of fish. And that's why it looks very natural. Once you discover the underlying laws and then you apply it, you don't have to micromanage it. Okay. Was there something more? So I think there will be something more, but first you have to ask questions, then...
Who's Markov? You haven't told us.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, thank you for reminding that. Andrei Markov. Okay, Andrei Markov was a Russian mathematician who expounded the idea of Markov chains. Markov chains are a series of events which are independent of each other, and he made a whole mathematics out of it. And that mathematics is called Markov model. And if some of the parameters are unknown, then it's called hidden Markov model. So that was a mathematics he made 1 century ago, 100 years ago. And Larry Page and Sergey Brin used that hidden Markov model to model the web. and they became billionaires. And now I was just thinking that, hey, it's like 100 years old mathematics. It's like there is a 100 years gap, and there is so much mathematics between it, and nobody is applying it. So I think like I see a huge deficit of mathematics, a huge potential which can be applied to World Wide Web to make it tremendously magical. So that's the story of Andrei Markov. That's the secret of Google, actually. So,
Which is what? Which is hidden Markov model?
sorry?
So they just use that algorithm, this hidden Markov
No,
model.
it is not actually algorithm. It is a model. They
It's
use
model.
that model in their algorithm. So,
Still nothing.
so
But, okay, question. So let's take a more hands-on approach. Let's take social rank, for example, and let's just do, let's say, 3 dimensions, or backlinks versus comments versus page views.
XYZ.
Okay, XYZ. And how do you use the hidden Markov model to actually do? So actually, what it does is comes up with a ranking, right?
As I said, okay, let me first remind you again how hidden Markov model was used in Google PageRank. The PageRank is basically just a projection of the probability of reaching that page from any other page in infinite number of steps. You see? So I'll give you a very small example, a very simple example. Let's say there are, in the World Wide Web, there are just 3 pages. 1, A, B, and C. Now, B links to this, A links to this, and that's it. So what's the probability of reaching C? It's 100%, exactly. Anywhere you go, you will always reach C. Now let's make it a little bit more complicated. Let's say the links are like this. Now what's the probability of reaching C after whatever steps? The probabilities are equal between the 3. The probability distribution will be equally distributed between the 3. So the probability will be 1 by 3, 1 by 3, and 1 by 3. So now this is a very simple example, and you can calculate it by hand. But if there are like millions of web pages, you cannot do stuff like this. So you have to make a matrix A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, and you have to like initialize with certain numbers. That is the probability of reaching from C to B in 3 steps, probability of reaching from D to E in 4 steps, and then apply some algorithm and apply it again and again. A point will come where the numbers won't change. It means that the process has stabilized. And once the process has stabilized, that is your page rank. Now it's just backlinks. But if you go to like higher dimensions, I mean, I don't know, I can't even draw it here. It's like n dimension. So you can project that thing to like higher dimensions. So you can do it mathematically, so something like that.
I've got a serious question. If a programmer is interested in learning more about mathematics to improve, like whatever they want to improve, like what would be books or resources you'd recommend?
Books and resources.
What would be the best way for him to start with?
Okay, that's a
Using mathematics in a useful manner for the World
Yeah.
Wide Web.
That's actually a very good question.
And what language is that?
To begin with, I will recommend Wikipedia. For example, let's say you know what is hidden. Just now you know what is hidden Markov model. You can go to Wikipedia and read about it. And in Wikipedia you will notice like 2 or 3 more terms, and you can read about them. See? So you see, it's like of course it's not possible so quickly to be like a hardcore mathematician, because it requires like years and years of training. But at least you'll get some idea. Let's say if you're a CEO of a company, then at least you'll get an idea of where things can be applied. So just now, to begin with, I will certainly recommend Wikipedia, and then you can get, like from links you can get the names of the books, like links of other links. So that's how I learn, or anything.
So you touched on support vector machine. So what was that all about? Sorry, to be less blunt.
Actually, that's why I was a little bit iffy about discussing it, because.
So is that
it's
like the next big thing, the next hidden Markov model?
Yeah, it's like not exactly the next hidden Markov model, but it's really a big thing.
Okay.
You see, it classifies things very accurately. That's all I can say. But the problem is application, how you will apply it. In theory, you can see everything that how it works like this, the proof works like this, but how will you algorithmically apply it? That's a problem. So that's my short answer to your question.
Well, can I add? At least when we think about classification, something that everybody knows is spam. So one way is like cut where is spam, what is ham, what is spam, right? So that's one aspect of it. And I don't know if like the Bayesian model, the naive Bayesian
networks.
Bayesian networks.
Actually, a Bayesian model
is more statistical.
is very successful in classifying spam and ham. So using support vector machine is like using a tank to kill a mosquito. In this case.
Okay. So it's too simple for yeah.
Too simple?
Spam is too simple.
Yeah. Right.
So anybody else who has any questions?
Or just a question, an answer to the previous on recommendations. I can recommend a book called Programming Collective Intelligence. It talks a lot about mathematical models and algorithms applied to ranking and all that stuff. It contains a lot of pseudocode in Python, so it should be readable by people who read.
Nice segue.
3 seconds.
The other one for Ruby literate guys. It's a site called igvita.com. igvita.com. There's a section for his blog. He covers a lot of stuff like this, and with examples, he builds basically a Family Guy fan site, but using all these methods to make the site cooler, make recommendations and so on.
Actually, if you think about Google PageRank, pages linking to one another, it doesn't sound like a very big deal. But what is a big deal is how do you use the information trapped between that, like the structure of the linking behavior of pages. How do you extract that? How do you use that to get the relevance of the link? That's the main thing.
I think there's also tons of stuff that has been stuff like this has been used in so-called artificial intelligence. So if you read up on that, it points you to a lot of the math that they use.
In fact, many of the games, they use ample use of artificial intelligence, neural networks. So yes.
Netflix was giving away how many $100,000, $1 million for a competition for design an algorithm for recommendations.
Yeah. Netflix. It's closed.
It's closed?
Okay.
So, I think nobody has beaten Netflix's own algorithm.
I don't think so. I don't think so. The competition has been on.
Actually, there was something like that some way back by.
I think it's time.
Yeah, really? Okay. Anything else?
Is there any more people like you?
It's scary.
Like me is like weird or
Brilliant! The keyword is brilliant. Where can you find them?
India.
India.
When you have real math schools.
I'm actually I went to IIT Delhi Institute of Technology and I studied mathematics and computing. Almost all my friends have gone into finance. and they're earning like 3 or 4 times more than I do. And I did not go into finance because of 2 reasons. There was a push and there was a pull. Pull was that I really love technology, and the push was that financial mathematics, I don't believe in financial mathematics. I think the model is flawed. They say that economy is an equilibrium model, but I think economy is not an equilibrium model. It's a complex adaptive model. For example, if your body, any living organism, if it reaches equilibrium, it means that it is dead. That is a thermodynamic definition of death, that you reach equilibrium with the environment. So, I don't agree with that.
Let's challenge him with more questions.
So actually, there's no such thing as equilibrium.
Oh, there you go.
It's theoretical.
See some guy that shoots you, boom.
Equilibrium is like center of gravity. For example, a thing like this, if it's in a boomerang, its center of gravity is here. It does not even exist in the body. It's just a concept. So equilibrium is also like that.
Okay.
So what will you give me in a scale of 0 to 10? What will you give me?
There's no number to define.
Yeah.
You get it.
It's like an
Equilibrium.
N to the power of X.
Look at you guys.
It's abstract, man.
It's hidden.
Hidden Kylie model.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.